The Nicaraguan government, led by Daniel Ortega, has undermined the institutions of democracy, including the press, by both ignoring and disparaging the private media in an attempt to silence criticism, to stifle dissent, and to control the flow of information.
What we saw as the primary problem that emerged in meeting after meeting was the complete inaccessibility of the entire government apparatus, from President Daniel Ortega to his wife Rosario Murillo, who's kind of almost serves as a vice president, to all the organisms of government. President Ortega had basically set a tone in which the government does not talk to the press, period.
Press conditions have deteriorated in Nicaragua seriously since 2008, particularly during the period previous and post the municipal elections of November 9, 2008. Journalists covering street protests were attacked. There were some criminal defamation suits against critical journalists. Some independent, prominent journalists like Carlos Fernando Chamorro was investigated for trumped-up money laundering charges that were later dismissed. The harassment against Carlos Fernando Chamorro started right after he exposed a multi-million dollar scheme involving the Sandinista ruling party and denounced influence peddling in the government.
Even though the president's Sandinista party was competing in a municipal election, in a very competitive election, the president saw no reason to engage the media. The media wasn't part of his strategy. Now, there were very well-substantiated allegations of fraud in the aftermath of those elections, and the media reported aggressively on those allegations, and through his aggressive language, President Ortega had created an atmosphere in which aggrieved political actors on both sides felt that the press was part of the problem, and there were attacks carried out against journalists, both Sandinista journalists and journalists who didn't support the Sandinistas. A number of journalists were injured. There were a number of very serious threats made. It was a period of extreme tension. The press was in the middle of that, and part of that, in our view, was fueled by the government's own aggressive and antagonistic language towards the press.
In the month prior to the municipal elections, the offices of the Center for Media Investigations, which is an institution headed by Chamorro that promotes investigative journalism, was raided by more than a dozen police officers. Documents were seized, computers were confiscated, and the prosecutors, the Attorney General's office was investigating his organization after being accused of money laundering.
I think one of the things that troubled us so much, there are plenty of countries around the world where governments have a hostile relationship to the press, and to a certain extent that's normal and healthy. But in Nicaragua, you have a democratically elected president who feels no need to engage with the media, who feels that he can retain power and function politically without engaging the media on any level.